and welcome to GameSack. This time we're looking at some games that are endorsed by some wicked sweet celebrities.
Hey, don't turn the channel just yet. These are not sports games. We're not talking about Allen Iverson's assault and battery basketball here. We're talking about actual games.
Yeah, but some of them do have sports stars in there. I think you guys know which ones we're talking about, but we've got to mention them, so let's check them out. Michael Jackson's Moonwalker is a 1990 arcade game from Sega. This is an isometric action game where up to 3 Michaels rescue kids and defeat tons of enemies. Michael himself helped out with the concept and design of this one, and he's always been a big fan of Sega arcade games. Touching your pet chimp Bubbles transforms you into a robot with lasers just like you'd expect. It's a slow-moving game, but it can be fun to play once in a while. And the renditions of Jackson's tunes are pretty good. This is less of a video game than it is a biopic on the actual life of Michael Jackson. That's right, this is a true story.
Michael!
The Sega Genesis version of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker is completely different. This one's a side-scroller and you're looking for kids to rescue behind doors and windows and the like. In some levels, you're even looking inside car trunks. Or in dumpsters. Who's putting kids in dumpsters? Or even buried alive in the cemetery. What the hell, Sega? The animation of Michael is pretty good for such an early 4 megabit game. He controls pretty well, mostly. He throws magical sparkles from his fingers and toes, and these kill enemies. You can also hold the A button down for a bit to throw your hat at them, which causes them to explode. This uses some of your life meter though. If you have enough life, you can hold the A button long enough for you to engage in a dance attack. This forces the enemies to dance with you. But the dance moves are so boss that only Michael Jackson can do them and other people just collapse and die. You can even force dogs to dance with you, and yes, they die as well. I bet the ASPCA loves this game. Once you rescue all of the kids on a level, your pet chimp Bubbles comes and tells you where to go for the boss fight. Once you get to the right location, Joe Pesci comes in and laughs at you. Then you need to defeat a bunch of different enemies. I'm not sure if Jackson had any personal involvement in the development of this version. The 16-bit versions of the Michael Jackson tunes aren't bad considering the time that this game was made. In fact, I think some of the tunes sound better than they do in the arcade version, with better bass and nicer instruments. Though it is disappointing that Thriller isn't in here in the cemetery stage. But that's because the song was actually written by someone else and they didn't want to pay royalties. However, early revisions of the game do have a portion of it in the dance attack. To be honest, this game is repetitious and it gets old really quick. But it's fun for a goof. Michael Jackson's Moonwalker was also released on the Sega Master System. This is a port of the Genesis version of the game. It's very similar overall with downgraded visuals and audio. Surprisingly, I felt that this one played a little bit better than the Genesis version, but not by much. You can get a permanent hat attack since you don't kick any sparkles in this version. Well, not actually permanent, but it lasts quite a while. With a lack of an A button, you must hold down other buttons to initiate your dance attack. It works well enough and it doesn't hinder the gameplay. So, not a horrible game, but not tremendously pleasing on your senses. I wonder if Michael Jackson even knew that this version existed.
Here's Shaq Fu for the Super Nintendo. It was also released on the Genesis, Game Boy, and Game Gear. The year was 1994. Shaq was at the height of his basketball career, and at some point someone decided a video game needed to be released starring the 7'1" giant. So the brains behind this project went the direction of a fighting game. You play as Shaq fighting his way through many stages on a ridiculous quest to save a young boy from evil. But you have to do it before the charity basketball game you're going to play in starts. At first glance, the game looks pretty darn good. It has lots of nicely detailed backgrounds that animate, which in my opinion is a huge plus. The fighting, on the other hand, suffers. The problem is that it's really hard to pull off moves. I tried forever to get Shaq to throw a Shaqarukin or whatever it's called to no avail. One move that I do wish was in there was to bounce a basketball off somebody's face. You know, that would have been really satisfying. But the thing that I find amazing is that people actually crowdfunded a successor called Shaq Fu, A Legend Reborn. It's on just about everything, and this is the Xbox One version. This time around, Shaq is a Chinese orphan who's on a mission to fight celebrities. And it's a beat-em-up instead of a one-on-one fighter. You have lots of moves, but you still can't throw a basketball in anyone's face, at least not that I've seen. In fact, this game makes no reference to Shaq's basketball career at all. There's some humor and some of it works, and a lot of it just falls flat.
It's time you knew my secret.
I've seen your browser history. Some things are better left unsaid.
What? No, I lent my computer to a guy at work. Anyway, that's not it.
I think they're trying way too hard to incorporate as many jokes as they can.
I have placed transformative potions along your journey. Do not forsake them. Your urine will not be tested.
Overall, it's better than the 16-bit Shaq Fu, but it's still extremely repetitive and it gets boring. Not only that, but there's a lot of screen tearing in the graphics. There's really no excuse for it to look this bad. The levels are long and it just gets so uninteresting that I actually put down the controller and shut it off due to boredom. And I don't plan on powering it up again. The joke's on everyone who backed this game. Yeah, you too.
Are you one of them new Ghostbusters?
Michael Jordan, another basketball great, got a game called Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City. Luckily, this isn't a bland fighting game, but instead it's a fairly bland platformer. You play as the titular Jordan who's out to save kidnapped basketball players before a charity basketball game.
Did you just say tits?
Another charity basketball game? What the hell? These guys must really love charity. Each level you play in is the same process. Find keys to unlock doors which reveal coins, health, enemies, and other types of basketballs. Michael's weapon is the basketball, and yes, you can bounce them off your enemy's face, which is pretty satisfying. There's many different types of basketballs you can collect that do different things like boomerang shot or a nice shot among other things. You can switch between these at any time until you run out of them. Like I said, it's fun to use these, but the game really could have benefited from a vertical attack. It really would have made it a bit more fun. Also, littered out through each stage are basketball hoops. When you slam dunk a basketball in them, you get more coins, health, and basketballs. Once you find a kidnapped player, you can ask them questions for hints about the game. The main problem with this one is that it's kind of tough to control Michael. His jumps are floaty, and there's a small delay when throwing basketballs. And you know what, this should have really been tweaked before the game was released. To me, this is actually kind of fun in small spurts. After about 45 minutes, it starts to get boring since you're doing the same thing over and over again. Sadly, it's just not fun enough for me to recommend to anyone.
In 1995, the world decided that Aerosmith needed to have their own game, so we got Revolution X. This first appeared in the arcades and was brought home to most consoles at the time, and I'm playing the Saturn version here. It's a light gun game that, sadly, does not support any light guns on the consoles. What the hell? Basically, the one world government has declared that everything you like is wrong. And of course, you like Aerosmith, so they need to be kidnapped immediately. Now it's up to you to rescue them and destroy the people who work for the government because F their lives, Aerosmith is important. You fire guns to damage and kill enemies. You also have a limited stock of CDs that you can shoot, which are of course way more powerful than your gun. You'll find lots of opportunities to replenish your stock of CDs. You can also get temporary upgrades to both your guns and CDs. I like how when you upgrade the CDs you get laser discs. I think I can roll with that idea. The game screen moves and zooms around all over the place. And sometimes you'll even need to choose which direction you want to go. Be careful though, because there's some maze-like areas where you can actually get lost. Also, sometimes you'll need to destroy something with a CD shot, otherwise you're just going to stay there on the screen and enemies will just keep coming at you again and again and again until you do. I gotta say, it's not tremendously intuitive for new players, but you'll figure it out. There are also girls to rescue, of course. And even though Aerosmith has been kidnapped, they're still somehow able to get messages to you via recordings.
Looks like you made it. Where you go from here is up to you.
I guess they made these recordings prior to being kidnapped? I don't know, probably not worth thinking too hard about. The boss fights can be tiring as they take a ton of damage and are generally kind of uninteresting to fight. The stages themselves are pretty long and you don't get any life or ammo refills between them. But you have lots and lots of credits, so most people will probably be able to brute force their way through this one. Although they're blocky, I do kinda like the graphics. I like the layered scaling sprites and backgrounds. It sorta reminds me of the Thunderblade arcade game with the scaling layers, and it just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, I guess. There can be some slowdown though, and it's not a super fast game by any means, even when it's not slowing down. There are some Aerosmith tunes in here, but the regular music is just some generic stuff and it's kind of unremarkable. This is a good game to play through every once in a while with a friend, but honestly not too often.
These guys are maggots. They're putting chemicals in all our food.
Jackie Chan has seen more than a few games with his name on them. Hey, I've got 3 of them, but if I get one more, I'll have a 4chan of Jackie Chan games. I wish I could take credit for that joke, but I can't. I stole it from a follower on Twitter. Anyways, let's get going. The first game is Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu on the NES, and it was released in 1990 by Hudson Soft. This is a straight-up action platformer where the action is, of course, Kung Fu. Kicking and punching your way through the levels feels natural and really good. You can also throw fireballs, or as the game calls them, psycho waves, by holding in the attack button to charge it up. This is handy in a lot of circumstances, but not always since you can get hit while you're charging it. You have a limited amount of these, so use them sparingly. Jackie can also perform special attacks which are fun and easy to pull off. Again, they're limited, so only use them when you need to. There's 4 different types of special attacks, but you can only hold one at a time. You can change these out by collecting items that you get from hitting green frogs. Frogs will also drop bowls of ramen which will fill your life. Keep an eye out on your life because once you're out of it, it's game over. Yeah, you only get 1 lousy life and only 6 continues, which means there's lots of replayability. The game also has plenty of special stages for you to try and get more life and even extra continues. These stages are both hidden and in the open and can be accessed by collecting these bells. I really like the graphics in this game. There's a lot of detail, great animation, and the color is through the roof. The stages are long and the boss fights are fun. And the music is also extremely good with some very memorable tunes. Later, the game was released on the TurboGrafx 16. It's the same game, but as you can see, there's a substantial jump in graphic quality. Jackie looks more like himself and animates really nicely. Not only that, but the quality of the music is way better. It's really hard to believe it's coming off of the turbo chip. It's so awesome! There's also some digitized voices with Jackie's attacks, although it's really just digitized grunts and groans, but it's still cool. Some of the enemies have been changed for some reason, but whatever, it all looks good to me. The TurboGrafx version is the superior version, but both are insanely fun. If you can get your hands on either of these, then don't hesitate, you'll have a blast. Short years later, the PlayStation got Jackie Chan's Stuntmaster by Radical Entertainment. This is a 3D beat-em-up where Jackie Chan's off to save his kidnapped grandpa. When I think about original PlayStation games like this with polygons, my immediate thought is slow gameplay and sluggish controls. Amazingly, this game is the opposite. The gameplay is quick and Jackie is pretty nimble. He's not perfect, but he controls way better than most games of this sort back then. Although the graphics have aged, the game is still really fun to play. The levels feel very cozy as the play areas aren't very big. You'll fight lots of the same enemies over and over, but you'll be having so much fun it won't bother you. Jackie has the usual punches and kicks plus a few other moves. Every now and again, he'll blurt out a one-liner to make the experience feel more realistic.
You guys can't touch me.
There's not a lot of variety in what he says, but to me it never gets old or annoying. The music is decent and it complements the gameplay, but it's nothing amazing. Luckily, the solid gameplay keeps you interested in wanting to play more. In the end, this is a great entry into the Jackie Chan series of games. Playing these titles really makes me want to watch his movies again, and I think that's just exactly what I'll do.
I've got the light.
All right, moving right along here. Man, there's one game that I really want to cover. I don't know if I have it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you got me excited to hear about it because, typically these games are just... Yeah, but if you really want to talk about it...
Let's just move on for right now. I hope I have it. How about some Fast Draw Showdown starring Wes Flowers on the PlayStation 3? This is an old Laserdisc game from American Laser Games, and it was originally released in the arcades in 1994. Now, you're probably wondering, who the F is Wes Flowers? Well, number one, how dare you ask that? And number two, he was the fastest draw in the Tombstone Quick Draw competition in 1972 and even 1973. He doesn't mess around.
My name's Wes Flowers. I'm one of the world's fastest quick draws.
Does he count as a bona fide celebrity? Hell yeah, he does! He's Wes Flowers, damn it! Basically, in this FMV game, you're in a quick draw competition with various opponents, and you need to kill them dead before they kill you dead. This can only be played with the Move dildo on the PS3, and there's no option for a standard controller at all. You hold the controller vertically until the word draw appears on the screen, and you try to shoot first. I like how each villain has some nonsense that they've got to spew to intimidate you.
Marshall's out of town. You're out of luck.
And some of it can be pretty bad.
I got no reservation about shooting you.
Or how about this guy?
I interest you in some life insurance. I think you're gonna need it.
He offers me insurance, but never gives me the chance to buy it before pulling a gun on me. This game's actually more fun than it looks. If you lose a match, you lose a life, but you can set it so that you have unlimited lives.
I've got me some dynamite, but I don't need it to blow you away.
Well, apparently you did. Sometimes you'll even need to shoot a villain more than once to make sure he's completely dead. Sometimes you don't even know who's going to be the one that'll draw.
Got him, boys, didn't I? You did a good job, didn't I? Yeah.
And don't think that this game is easy, because some of these bastards can be tough as hell. I tried this guy so many times and I just couldn't do it. And when I finally got him before he got me, the video froze. The game was still running, but there was no way to advance it. Figures, right? After about 2 or 3 minutes or so, the game errored out, gave me the win, and thankfully moved on. Throughout the game, the amazingly famous celebrity Wes Flowers will be your mentor and also the father figure that you've always wanted.
You're faster than I thought you was. You ought to keep playing.
He's also the final boss. The video looks like it was shot with a first-generation iPhone in portrait mode, but it works.
I don't like your looks.
Hey, welcome to the club, pal. There's also lots of Western-themed music here to make you feel like you're really in the Old West.
You should have done your shopping at the mall.
Even though I don't think that the Old West had malls, but hey, what do I know?
I'm having a real bad hair day. What are you looking at?
Actually, I'm looking at the strategically placed cushion that you're about to fall onto when I shoot you. Overall, the game's lots of fun. Even though it can get really tough, it is doable. It's also available on Nintendo's Wii. But nobody cares about the Wii.
Nah, you wouldn't shoot an unarmed man, would you?
There's a rock band out there that you've probably heard of by the name of Kiss. These guys gained a huge following over the years and are famous for their crazy face paint, chest hair, and Gene Simmons' long tongue that I guess would make his groupies, well, very happy. Kiss is one of those bands that I neither hate nor do I like them. Their music isn't anything that I deliberately try to listen to, but when I hear a song of theirs playing on the radio, I'll listen to it. And of course they've got a couple of games of their own. The first is Kiss Psycho Circus for the Dreamcast, and also PC. This is a first-person shooter type of game. Normally I eat these things up since I love the first-person style. Not in this case though. You play a dude with Kiss-style face paint, but I don't think he's a band member. He's just some dude wandering around a maze. Since the Dreamcast doesn't have dual analog sticks, this one controls similar to Turok on the N64 and it's really tough to get used to. You can pick up and switch between various weapons to kill the enemies. The game is anything but intuitive. I try to get through this door, but it's locked. After wandering around and finding a key, I figured it should unlock the door. Well, it doesn't, and you know what, I'm really having a hard time continuing since I'm not feeling the vibe of this title. Plus, there's rarely any Kiss music blaring in the background, which really would have helped keep my very low interest. The next game is Kiss Pinball on the PlayStation. Here I am again with a genre that I usually love to play, which is video pinball. The game has 2 boards for you to choose from, and they're both plastered with faces from the band. I was looking forward to playing some cool Kiss-themed boards with Kiss music blaring in the background as I'm collecting massive points. Sadly though, there's a few problems that make this game really unenjoyable. Firstly is the game's speed. Everything moves at lightning speed, which isn't good for a video pinball game. The game boards scroll up and down with a ball, but good luck keeping track of the action. A couple of things would help. Slowing the gameplay down would be huge. Also, if the ball was a slightly different color to stand out a bit more, that would also help. The next thing is the ball physics. It's okay at best. For example, if you trap the ball in the right flipper on the Oblivion board and release it, this happens. Why does it jump across the screen to the left flipper when it should just simply roll down the right flipper? You want to get up a ramp or hit a certain target? Go ahead and try, but you won't be able to. You'll give up just like I did. The music in the background should be interesting, right? I mean, this is Kiss after all. It's just a guitar riff that repeats, and I'm not even sure it's the band, but I'm willing to bet that it's not. So yeah, we have 2 games here with Kiss's names and faces plastered all over the place, but we barely have any music from the band. I don't understand this, but if I were a true Kiss fan, I'd be pissed off. Luckily, I'm not a true fan, but I'm still a little pissed off anyway, just because both these games feel like nothing more than shovelware.
In 1995, Absolute Entertainment made Penn Teller's Smoke and Mirrors for the Sega CD. Well, they made it, but they never released it. It features 6 different minigames across 2 different discs, each conceptualized by Penn and Teller themselves. There's lots of FMV in here of them talking to you about the game. You can then choose one of the minigames and they'll give you a good introduction before the game proper loads up. The most popular minigame here is, of course, Desert Bus. Everyone knows about Desert Bus. Basically, you drive a bus with no passengers across the desert very, very slowly. And you have to stay alert, otherwise the bus will drift off the side of the road. And if that happens, you'll be towed back to the beginning in real time. There have been marathons on this game over the last few years to see how many round trips can be made. But hey, what about the other 5 minigames? Let's check them out. The first one is called What's Your Sign? Penn and Teller ask you different questions and you input your answer based on how strongly you feel about what they say.
Animals. Love them. Hate them. Like you. Bite you.
Then they tell you your astrological sign. And wouldn't you know it, these frauds totally guessed my sign wrong. Then there's Mofo, the psychic gorilla. He tries to guess the card that you picked. This minigame doesn't work well for me as it seems kind of buggy. Maybe it's my disc, I don't know. But you're supposed to use it to trick your friends and family. It's not actually supposed to guess your card. How it works, I don't know because like I said, my copy seems buggy. Then there's Buzz Bombers. This one pretends to be a demo of some crappy game that Absolute Entertainment insisted go on the disc. It's like a shooter, I guess. I couldn't get into it at all and you likely won't either. Next up is Sun Scorchers. In this one, you fly around and try to blast stuff. It purports to use graphics that are so hot you'll be damaged if you touch the screen. Well, I tried touching and even licking the screen and I was okay, so I don't know what they're talking about with this one. The last one is Smoke and Mirrors, a side-scrolling adventure to get to Las Vegas, I think. Of course, there are various obstacles attempting to stop you. You have to use the clumsy menus and controls to get past these obstacles any way you can. Even Debbie Harry's in here. As a total package, it's an interesting concept, but not something that lends itself to repeated plays. The Sega CD was pretty much dead by the time this one was done, and Absolute Entertainment went out of business, supposedly still owing Penn Teller some money. But a review copy was leaked many years ago, so feel free to download and burn it for yourself.
What do you think, I was born yesterday? I've seen that before. It's a trick.
All right, there we go. A pretty good episode with games endorsed by celebrities. I mean, I think we covered quite a bit. Did you,
Yeah, we did, but we didn't have that game that I wanted to cover. Damn it.
Yeah. I'm thinking it was probably Mary-Kate and Ashley's Pocket Planner on Game Boy Color, right?
No, it wasn't that.
Oh, good, because I'll do that next time.
You know, I think I know who has it, though.
Oh, really? Well, cool. You check that out. But in the meantime, you guys comment below on which games you like that are endorsed by celebrities. And in the meantime, thank you for watching GameSack.
Got a long walk ahead of me. Expect my life in gaming to be here. Damn it, I know Corey has that one game I need that's endorsed by a celebrity. I'm gonna have to use all my wits to get it.
Oh, Corey, do you remember to get the Tiger Electronics car novel?
Oh, yeah.
Now's my chance.
Corey, you're not Corey!
That's right.
Alright, here we go. Took me a little while, but here we go.
Alright then, are you ready to shoot this episode of My Life in Gaming?
Try, what's up? You sound a little weird.
Well, now I'm ready to shoot My Life in Gaming. Are you ready?
Alright, okay.
Hello and welcome to My Life in Gaming. We're talking about car knob, and did you know that car knob looks better if you use composite instead of RF?
That's exactly right, Try.
Well, great! That was a great episode of My Life in Gaming. Corey, can you show me your expensive games now?
Come on, you know I don't let you back there.
Corey, I'm gonna have to get a little violent if you don't show me your game.
No.
No. Whoa! This Corey's legendary.
It's Corey's legendary game room. Brittany's dance beat is finally mine.